everybody. Welcome to the Wishing You Well podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Maria Patrick, your host, and this week I am bringing us a very important lesson from the White Lotus Season 3. You don't have to worry about me revealing any spoilers because, truth be told, I have not yet sat down to watch any of the episodes of this season, Season 3. As you know, I'm always on the lookout for people and headlines that we can draw inspiration from. And there were several interesting health stories in the news this past week that I was contemplating on reporting to you about. Where you live can affect your weight. What you eat in midlife affects how healthy you are as you age. Why we should be snacking on pecans. How Cory Booker stood on his feet for 25 hours. I wanted to talk about how he prepared for that. And screaming is good for your health. If you want to hear about any of those health topics in a future episode, please let me know. Send me a note in the comments. So instead, today I decided to talk to you about a lesson, a very important one that comes from Patrick Schwarzenegger. Seems like everyone is talking about the show that he is starring in, The White Lotus. I was very interested to hear about Patrick joining the cast because of my admiration, my longtime fandom for his mom, Maria Shriver. And I've been following the two of them together for years because they have a joint venture as business partners in a company that they created and founded and owned together called MOSH. They are very committed to brain health, so much so that they researched and developed their own high-protein snack bars, which are loaded with brain-boosting ingredients. It really makes them quite the departure from what we would regularly see in the grocery store. Their bars are loaded with omega-3 fatty acids and vitamins B12 and D3 and ashwagandha and lion's mane. If you're interested, go to moshlife.com to learn more. The Shriver-Schwarzenegger family works tirelessly to bring us information, products, and recommendations for brain health, and a portion of their proceeds goes to raise money in the fight against Alzheimer's disease. So it's a good product and a good cause. I have absolutely no affiliation with them. It's just a product that I enjoy and can comfortably recommend to you. I actually had the opportunity to meet Maria Shriver in person this past October, and I found her to be as lovely and inspiring in person as she appears when you see her on television and when you read or listen to her books. So back to Patrick. Patrick Schwarzenegger is the 31-year-old actor's son of Maria and her ex-husband, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was not only very famous actor, action star, but also served as governor of California. Patrick is a member of the Season 3 cast of this very popular HBO Max show called The White Lotus. He plays a character named Saxton, who is described as a very privileged son of a corporate criminal. And Patrick wants to make it clear to us all that he got the job from years of hard work and dedicating his life to the craft of acting, not because of privilege or nepotism. Patrick, when he was promoting this season of The White Lotus, opened up in various interviews about his years of hard work and dedication to his acting craft. And because this followed comments about him that claimed that he got his role due to his father's name, big name in the entertainment business. He was criticized for riding the coattails of the very famous Arnold Schwarzenegger. However, that is actually the farthest thing from the truth. Patrick said in these interviews that he finds it very frustrating when people judge him solely on his last name and not all the work and effort he's put into his acting career. He admitted that he knows that people say he only got his role because of who his dad is. He said what people don't see, what's not apparent to the naked eye, is that for the last 10 years, he has attended weekly acting classes, which involves him putting on plays every single week and working on his characters for hours on end. And he said that he has received hundreds of rejections from the auditions that he's been on. He admitted that sometimes he wishes he had changed his last name. He says he would never trade his life with anyone. He feels fortunate to have the family that he has, and that he's learned so many valuable lessons and values from his parents that has been instilled in him since his childhood. But he said that what people don't realize about him is that he does not take his family name for granted. He continues to learn and grow and take weekly acting classes. He did say that he fell in love with acting from an early age because of his dad, because his dad used to take him with him to the sets that he was working on. He would actually pick him up from school, get him out of school, sometimes even a little bit early, and bring him to Universal Studios, where many of the films were being filmed. And he said that he just became fascinated by sitting there in the sidelines and watching the films being made. But that he, despite the fact that he landed his first acting role when he was 10 years old in the year 2006 in The Benchwarmers, he did not act from that point on. He went to college, he earned a business degree, and he has had small movie roles over the years. He was in Stuck in Love and The Grown-Ups 2. He was in TV shows like The Scream Queens and Gen V and The American Sports Story. But what I love about the part of Patrick's story, two things. One is how hard he has worked to get better, to improve himself, to be able to turn those rejections into roles, and the fact that it was his mom, Maria, who encouraged him to audition for the White Lotus. Apparently, it was a show that they would regularly watch as a family together. They watched the first 2 seasons of the series, and every time they would watch the show together, Maria Shriver would turn to Patrick and say, "Why haven't you auditioned for this? You should go out for this. You need to call your agents. You need to be on this show. You need to audition." So that's exactly what Patrick, with his family's encouragement, ended up doing. He auditioned in 2023, got cast in the role, and they filmed the season 3 last year, 2024, and the sixth and final episode just appeared this past Sunday night. Again, as I said before, I haven't watched any of these season's episodes, so all I really know is that Patrick plays the eldest son of Timothy and Victoria, and he works for his father's company, and that he and his parents and his siblings are among the guests that are vacationing at this resort in Thailand. And if you know anything about the show, you know that even whether you're like me, you haven't watched any of the season 3 episodes, or even if you have, you know that it always ends up with some trouble in paradise. So the reason I was inspired to talk about Patrick today is because those weekly acting lessons are something that is apparently non-negotiable in his very busy schedule. It leaves me to wonder, is there anything that you are committed to learning on a weekly basis? They say that if you put in the time like Patrick, that you will get better lesson by lesson, week by week. That seems very obvious. You may be familiar with the author Malcolm Gladwell's concept of the 10,000 hour rule. I believe it originated in his book, The Outliers, which was published in 2008. And the crux of the theory, the 10,000 hour rule theory, is that in order to achieve mastery in a skill, you are required to dedicate approximately 10,000 hours of dedicated practice. And in his book, Malcolm Gladwell cited specific examples like Bill Gates, who obviously went on to be so very successful, like the Beatles, that before these very famous mentions in his book achieved their tremendous success, they had accumulated years and hours upon hours of heavy practice. Malcolm Gladwell says that it's not just the quantity of your practice, but it's the quality that is so crucial for your skill development, which for me, and probably for you too, perhaps for you, is great to hear. Because if you do some quick back of the napkin math, at 1 hour a week of training, it would take 192 years to become a so-called expert at 10,000 hours. At an hour a day, it would only take a little over 27 years. So this sounds very discouraging, doesn't it? In a previous podcast, I mentioned that I started taking saxophone lessons in January. It's part of my personal goal of 60 before 60. 60 things that I want and hope and I'm trying to accomplish before I turn 60. And one of the things on my list, one of the 60, is to learn to play the saxophone. So for my poor family, the first month in January, all of my family heard coming out of my practice room was Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and Mary Had a Little Lamb. And then I began to graduate to some better sounding songs like Kumbaya and the Notre Dame Fight Song and When the Saints Go Marching In. And now I'm very happy to tell you that I am playing Fly Me to the Moon. Like Patrick, I only have one lesson per week, but I have been seriously practicing for at least an hour every day. It's something that I really have had to work hard to make time for in my schedule. Here's my attitude about it. If the day is about to come to an end and I haven't yet practiced, I need to grab my saxophone and at least practice the scales and the latest song I'm working on and maybe even try my hand at something new. I'm not even close in this short period of time to being able to take my show on the road. But when the clock struck midnight on January 1st of this year, I didn't know the difference between a B flat or a C sharp. I wouldn't have been able to tell you where to find any of those notes on that saxophone. I play an alto sax. And now I'm playing Fly Me to the Moon, one of my favorite songs. When it comes to Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours principle, like Patrick Schwarzenegger, he's received a lot of criticism. The experts, at least some of them, have argued that his rule makes it oversimplified. It oversimplifies the path to becoming a master at something, and it overlooks some other very important factors like talent. And that mastery time can also vary very significantly by field. So, for instance, I clearly haven't put in 10,000 hours yet. I'm by no means a master, but I, in far less than 10,000 hours, have been able to go from zero to the hero of playing a bunch of songs. The bottom line is this, that the 10,000 hours rule, much like Patrick's path to the White Lotus, emphasizes the importance of perseverance and commitment when you're trying to acquire a skill. In this podcast, which is all about wellness, focused to making our lives longer, stronger, better, and healthier, we talk about the things that improve our health and well-being. And the important thing to note is that it's not just our physical health. Our mental and emotional health are so very important too. And when we regularly practice activities, things that we're trying to improve and master, we get significant benefits to our health, like improving your cognitive function, reducing your stress, among other benefits. So let's take a more detailed look at how regularly practice something can be good for your health. If it's your physical health you're working on, if you're practicing regularly physical activity, the results are somewhat obvious. You're going to improve your endurance, your muscular strength, your cardiovascular health, You might start losing or managing your weight better, and your overall energy levels will be boosted. If you practice something mindful like yoga or meditation or what I teach, which is Qigong, as well as meditation, you can lower your blood pressure, reduce your stress, perhaps and hopefully improve your sleep and your digestion. When you learn things that challenge your brain, you will improve your mental health, perhaps not only your overall mental agility, but your memory, your cognitive function. When you practice regularly something creative, like painting, knitting, writing, playing music, the thing I've been focusing on, not only will you boost your creativity, reduce your stress, but you're going to get this sense of accomplishment, much like I have been achieving little by little. How about if you're regularly practicing gratitude? If you focus on the positive aspects of life around you, you're going to watch your mood improve, your stress get reduced, and enhance your overall well-being. When you learn new skills in a group activity, taking your show on the road, I've been regularly playing mahjong with a group of women at a local library. You're not only improving your skill at whatever it is that you're doing in that group setting, but you're building social connections and improving your communication skills. This is especially important considering that we have been hearing a lot about the fact the Surgeon General reported on this, and I talked about this in a previous episode, I think in season 1, is that loneliness and social isolation are now considered an epidemic. How about regularly practicing kindness? If you are regularly practicing kindness, an hour a day, an hour or two a week, you once again will create a sense of connection with other people, improve your relationships, all of which help you to boost your own well-being. When we set goals and work towards them, whatever they are, whether it's a professional goal, a personal goal, you will be giving yourself a sense of purpose, a reason to get up every morning, boosting your self-esteem and your confidence. When you learn something like a new language or practicing an instrument, or maybe you want to start a garden this year, you'll find yourself more energetic, more joyful, less bored, with a sense of purpose and a zest for life. This motivation alone, the reason to get out of bed in the morning, could be the reasons that you would like to begin to learn a new skill. We often hear that the human brain doesn't fully develop until the age of 25. What scientists are saying now is that learning is great for your brain at every age, because as you put in the time to take on a new skill and you work at it and you practice regularly like Patrick, the mind will begin to reshape itself, because the physical brain is actually quite malleable. And that doesn't just end in adolescence. The research shows that we can improve the health of our brain by constantly educating ourselves and trying new things. We are capable of change and growth. We just have to stay open to the new opportunities in our lives. So if you're like me, you're going to have to sit down for several hours to watch season 3 of The White Lotus and see the aforementioned Patrick Schwarzenegger in action. But once we're done, we need to get up off the couch and work on practicing our new skill, whatever that is. The road to mastery may be paved with 10,000 hours of bricks, but we can inspire ourselves along. We can work on this together. We will get better, stronger and healthier and happier, one practice hour at a time. Thank you for the inspiration, Patrick Schwarzenegger. There will be more inspiration coming our way in the next episode. Until then, I am, as always, wishing you well.